Man, it has been a long, long week. So, what's going on, y'all? I know it's been a minute since I uploaded, but I just want to let you guys know why it took so long for me to, pretty much to get set back up after I made some upgrades. So, whenever it comes at any point in PC gamers' life, whether you've been on PC for a year, 5 years, whatever it may be, at some point you're gonna want to make some upgrades. No problem with that. And I decided I wanted to get a different socket type for my CPU, which will now be the AM3, even though the Ryzen's literally just came out, their AM4, which is going to be AMD's new CPUs that they're going to be upgrading and making new models down the line. So I originally was on the A series APUs, which is a FM2 Plus socket, and it doesn't take rocket science to know that AM3 and FM2 are completely different. So if you were to use a FM2 on an AM3 motherboard, it would not work. So I had to get a whole new motherboard, which isn't bad, and I had to get a new CPU. So I just got a simple FX 6300, just temporary until I get the 8370. So then I had everything up, everything was smooth, and then that's when problems started kicking in. So maybe after a day or two of me having everything hooked up, had to do the fresh install and wipe off everything on my hard drive. I tried to use as many flash drives as I could because I didn't have a portable hard drive. So when my girlfriend came over and I wanted to show her a new build and play some games, we bumped into the table one too many times, and then she looked at my graphics card. She's like, "Yo, it looks like it's dangling a little bit." It did look like it for a second, but it was fine. So readjusted some chords, and then we started playing. As soon as I was playing Titanfall 2, which I had a review ready and everything, son, which I was gonna play some Titanfall 2, maybe about a game and a half in, my whole PC went black. Everything cut off. Everything was still spinning except for my CPU fan. Naturally thinking, I was like, maybe they gave me a busted heatsink or busted fan, whatever it may be. Something is busted with the CPU. So I was like, let me see if I can try one of my old heat sinks, one of my old coolers, and see if that works. So put on my old CPU cooler, booted up just fine. I was like, okay, it's the fan. Started playing again, did the same fucking shit. Everything was still spinning except for my fan. Bruh, you don't know how fucking just depressing that is. I've had this PC since 2014. Case in all, I damn near made it a completely different build except for the motherboard. That was the very last thing that I changed out. That thing is my baby, yo, and it feels terrible when you feel like you killed it. So I had to figure out what was going on, and it naturally me thinking, I was like, it has to be the motherboard. I was like, is it not, maintaining or having good heat protection or whatever it may be. I didn't know what it was, but the thing was, it wasn't really getting hot, and you would have smelt like a burning, like plastic or even metal smell. You would have smelt it, which I didn't, and it wasn't really that hot. So I was just thinking, maybe there's something wrong with this motherboard. I'm gonna go ahead and take it back. So I ended up putting in my old build, hooked everything up, booted up just fine. I was like, it's the motherboard, it has to be it. Then a day down the line, booted up Ghost in the Shell First Assault. Great free to play game. Definitely gonna do a review of it pretty soon. As soon as I booted up, it literally did the exact same thing. So then it hit me. I was like, it cannot be the PCIe cable shorting out. If it was shorting out, it never would have even booted on to begin with, and the fan would have been spinning. It has to be something wrong. So I was depressed for like 3 days, bruh. And it was bad because it was like WrestleMania weekend too, which, I was trying to be happy and enjoy that shit. And then I was depressed. I was eating ice cream. I was eating everything in sight. I didn't want to do shit. I was mad. I was depressed. And then I had to go to work. I had to deal with the fucking people. It was a mess. So then, after all that time of me thinking, I just killed my PC, it just really did not make sense. And that's when everything started to click together of me just being at work and having time to think on it. I was like, if it's something wrong with my actual fan, it wouldn't even work when I even put it in my old build to begin with. And then on top of that, if it was something wrong with the PCIe cable, my PC would have never even booted on half the time. And then also on top of that, it couldn't even be the motherboard because there was no burning smell, or this thing wasn't even getting hot like that. So then it gave me a drive. It gave me determination to go back home and figure out what could be the issue. And don't get me wrong, I looked everywhere online, had no answers, tried everything in the book. Maybe it was a bad RAM stick, maybe it was something else, maybe my power supply is dead. Nothing was making sense. And then that's when it hit me. I have to go back home, fiddle around with this thing, and I gotta get this boy to work. And then, out of pure luck, not even realizing that this was a factor, the one thing that caused all this grief, all this confusion, all this anger, all this ice cream eating depression, it was because my PCIe cable connecting into my motherboard was dangling over one of the cords on my graphics cards. A fucking cord dangling over my graphics card. Now don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm not mad that that was the problem, but at the same time, how did I not have this problem before? And then it got me thinking. I was like, maybe it was because my cable management was so much more better. I just hit Bill. It was better because I completely just lazied it. I was just throwing cords in wherever. Come to find out, the last time I had it, my cords were actually tucked in somewhere. And it taught me a valuable lesson of, especially when you're building the PC, make sure your cable management is on point. The new case that I got, which is actually the DIY J180, it's a white version. This case is a monster. The case has great airflow, beautiful cable management. I don't really have an issue with cables being around, thrown in all over the place. And what's pretty cool is it actually had extra slots for me to actually put in some extra 120mm fans. So that's cool. I can actually throw in extra fans so I can get some extra cooling for my PC because I'm going to be doing a lot of gaming and editing on it. And I even picked up the case on a sale too, so that's another plus. So the whole time of me thinking it was something wrong with my motherboard, it was all a cable management problem. And then also, that's not even where the story ends. Once I got everything working and I plugged in everything where it's at, there are actual wires and cables where your front panel connector is. They plug in on the motherboard, and it'll have a pin where it says power switch, reset switch, LED, whatever it may be, on your front panel area, or USB 3.0. It will have it labeled on your motherboard. So me thinking this is all on my old case, I'm just gonna plug in everything, we're gonna be smooth. Come to find out, the cables that were in my front panel connector, they got stripped or they got pulled too much because the fucking douche that decided to put my PC together, he ran the wires around one of the fans. So every single time one of the front fans will run, it'll click and it will hit one of the wires on the front panel connector, to where whenever I'm trying to push the power button, it will not work because it didn't hit it so many fucking times, it made it loose. So now I have to get another case because the only way you can turn on that PC is if you take a screwdriver and you literally touch the two pins on the front panel connector where the power switch is. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to damage it or anything, but I don't like doing that. It's kind of a hassle. I want to open up my PC, touch two pins just to turn the bitch on. And then also, if you're an idiot and you push in the pins thinking, oh, it's not working, and you jam it, you can damage your pins and fuck up your motherboard. So that's when it hit me. I was like, okay, now I gotta get a new case because this is some bullshit. And then my old case really didn't have good airflow whatsoever. So now I'm rocking with the J180 White Edition. This case is a monster. I love the way it looks. The side panel window is beautiful. You can literally see everything in the freaking PC build. Great cable management. It has a nice little top layer to actually cut off where the power supply is, and you can run the wires up through it. And then you can tuck the wires down underneath it, so it's not a shit ton of wires everywhere. So it's actually pretty nice. The only thing I kind of didn't like was how the PCIe lead PCIe lead connector on the motherboard to plug in where the CPU so you can get power to it. You have to run it through the back, run it underneath the motherboard, and then pop it up and plug it in there. It's really weird. It just feels a little ugh, but it actually works. So after all this grief and this bottle of emotions being shooken around like a damn Pepsi, I finally got everything working. I can finally get cracking down on these videos, and I can get back to gaming and doing what I love. So I can't lie to you guys, I got a lot of work to do. But of course, you already know what I gotta do first, and that's game hard as shit.